Welcome back, everybody. Got a couple of HEX OGs here from the PulseChain universe. Buck is the founder of many things. You might know him from the GMX fork called Fame or Fiat. He's built many protocols on PulseChain. And Dylan here, just a connoisseur of all things crypto. And we're going to be talking about Provex. We're going to be talking about the Provex pool that Buck put together. It's a way to get more bang for your buck, pun intended. And right now, the Provex, very controversial project, has raised $5.8 million. That's Richard Hart's third sacrifice, launching at a time in the market when everyone is pissed off. People are furious. How dare he launch something when his coins are currently down? But that's what we're going to be talking about today. Just Provex. I'm going to get your guys' thoughts on it, and then we'll talk a little bit about the pool. Why don't you go first, Dylan?
Sure. Yeah. Provex, we see an opportunity here, baseline start 3 days into the sack, and he didn't even raise $1 million. And Buck and I were like, wow, this is really wild. People we think are leaving value on the table here. And so when you think about it, Richard Hart he started HEX back in the day. It raised, I think, like $3 million on the first day, right? Something like that. And it precipitously dropped 90% for 30 days. Okay. Or 95%, something like that. And it was flooded to hell. Everyone thought it was a scam. It's not, obviously, but everyone shouted from the rooftops that this thing is a scam. Okay. He then proceeded to prove everybody wrong in 2020, 2021, while HEX did a 10,000X, right? He snowballed that into everybody thinks this guy is hot shit. He's the Elon Musk of altcoins. And now he's releasing these two new products, PulseChain and PulseX, right? So everybody wanted in. And maybe he raised a little bit too much money. He did two sacrifices. Pulse raised like $1 billion of real money, and then obviously HEX at the very end. And then PulseX raised, which was a pancake swap fork, raised a couple $1 billion, right? And then also, again, at the end, a bunch of HEX, right? And he went through all the success with HEX, snowballed it into Pulse and PulseX, and those were overvalued, in our opinion. And fast forward 2 years later, PulseChain's already been out. PulseX has been out. The charts are down 90% or so. And he got hit with an SEC case. He got hit with Interpol. There's been exploits on the chain. It's not been perfect. Okay. And so now, very interestingly, he has come out with this thing called Provex. And we know little to nothing about it. He's not really marketing it and pushing it as hard as he used to with HEX or Pulse or PulseX. And days in, it's not even raising $1 million. It makes you think. Like, we had the Richard Hart premium back in 21 and 22 and 23 when he was raising money for PulseChain and PulseX. And now we may be seeing and witnessing the Richard Hart discount where, think about it. People are leaving value on the table. This is a Richard Hart product we're talking about here, guys. And it is below a $10 million market cap right now. You know what I mean? And it makes you think, okay, is the market really pricing this thing accurately? Inc. is worth $40 million right now, even though it's below $1. PulseX is still worth upwards of $100 million, right? PulseChain, same. It's up in $100, $200 million. And then HEX as well. It's $150, $180 million or something like this, right? So it makes you think, okay, which is coming out with a new product. We don't know much about it. Maybe that's intentional. And this thing has only raised $5.8 million, right? There might be something here, right? This might be an intentional sandbag by Richard to try and flip the paradigm of the community via putting a win on the board. This is a hilariously low valuation. It should be easy to pump it or price in perfection via this product can come out, or this token can come out without a product, and you could have a pretty decent bubble that happens because it doesn't have the cash flows needed to justify the valuation. You know what I mean? So you can have a nice bubble, and he can put a win on the board. He can turn the ship around via, guys, look, all these core coins and stuff like that, but we didn't allow that in the sacrifice to roll over these whales, and we got new community members into Provex, and look at this thing. It's doing really well. Look at these guys in the first place position. Oh my gosh, they got a 20x. Wow. I still have the magic. I can still pull it off. And regardless of everything else, I think that's a basis of kind of just stepping up and just doing this pool, right, Buck? It was a no-brainer almost.
Yeah, I think when we saw that kind of initial amount of money come in, in the low six figures, it just said to me, okay, there's something amiss here. It just, the whole timing of it didn't make a lot of sense to me. It was rushed. It was quiet. There was no salesmanship. There wasn't even a solid pitch really given to it. And really all we have, even to this day now, 3 weeks later, is just a vague description of it. I only think that the real purpose of this thing is to give Richard the opportunity to do a bit of a comeback. And to me, this makes a lot of sense. I think trying to make Pulse or PulseX or even HEX successful at this point in time is pretty hard. EVM isn't doing very well across the board, and we're no exception to the rule. So the whole thing is a difficult thing to go out and talk about. I would have a hard time going out and trying to sell people on the idea of PulseX or Pulse right this very second. Crypto's down a bit. People are feeling less rich. Markets have corrected a little bit. You have other opportunities out there. So the whole framing of Provex is actually more important to me than the product itself. It's the idea that I think Richard really wants to have something new to talk about, something that's already showing promise and early success. And how do you engineer that? You don't raise $1 billion to start, right? Because then your hurdle to bring ROI is just astronomically higher. And if you're trying to do a cash grab, you'd probably try and sell the thing a little bit more to the people sacrificing. So it doesn't look like a cash grab to me either. It does look like a lot of work. So why would you do all this work for so little money? Unless one of the key features of it is that you want this thing to do really well and you want effectively to reward the people that come into this thing really as a leap of faith in the man himself, right? With all the different sources of FUD in the community at the moment, it takes a lot of balls to put money to work, which me as a person who tends to be a little bit of a contrarian and look for value is generally what I want to see. And it's something that I saw in HEX on around day 30. I looked at how HEX worked and I knew on day one that it was super overvalued because I did the math. And then I think it dropped 99%. And I did the math again and said, okay, now we've got the Richard Hart coin with maybe a $10 million market cap. And here we are today, years later, there's a new coin that has not a market cap, but a valuation of around 5 million. And I expect it'll probably end up around 8 or 9 million by the time the sacrifice ends. Incredibly low for crypto. There's absolutely dead projects on Binance chain that trade at 30 million, 40 million, 50 million. So you would think this thing could probably, assuming there's a good story behind it and more information and a little bit of excitement and a little bit of marketing from Richard, you would think that this thing should be trading in the tens of millions quite easily and could easily trade closer to 100 million if people really start to get behind it, and especially Richard himself. I guess it sounds a little bit conspiratorial, but it's almost like a psyop. You don't want to sacrifice for this. You're going to get no comfort. I'm not going to make you really any promises about anything. I'm not going to tell you anything. But if you want to come on this ride, you can. So to me, I think it's an asymmetric bet. It's, something trading well under 10, or sorry, something valued at under 10 million currently. All his other properties trade basically around $100 million or more, other than Inc., which still trades at 40 million or so. Why should this one only be 10 million? It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. One of the reasons why is because the community might be poor in cash at the moment, but they're Richard Hart coins and those aren't accepted. Why make that deliberate change? Well, this is something you would do.
Hold on 1 second, Buck, just to interject for people that might be watching this and not fully understand setting the stage. The sacrifice effectively is like a money raising period of time for this new project. So people are wondering what all these terms mean. There's a window of time. So for Provex, it started maybe 10 or 12 days ago. It ends on January 9th, but the bonus period ends in 2 more days. And it's a window of time where people can put their money in to get early access to get airdrops tokens for the new project. So an opportunity to get into a controversial new project, Some people think it's contrarian like you guys, other people hate it. Totally optional. But again, with the sentiment being the reverse of the pulse chain sentiment, that's what we're talking about here of how it could actually mean opportunity given that it's so hated, which is reminiscent of the early HEX days. Go on.
Yeah, picking up where I left off, I think that basically this product is looking to address a very large target market. We know from his tweets that he's looking to onboard the people outside of the chain, not us, right? He's going after OTC, he's going after privacy, he's going after CEXs, all these things that trade at tens of billions of dollars on the NASDAQ. If you look at Coinbase or multi-billion-dollar valuations for some of the other CEXs, big addressable market, very difficult play to succeed in, but easily something that I think could be more valuable than anything on PulseChain, including PulseChain, if he's at all successful with it.
That was part of the pitch too, that it could transcend any particular layer one blockchain. Although
Yeah.
I do expect that this will exist on PulseChain in some form, any chain with what this project is pitched as. And again, we have little information, but the tweets that we do have pitches it as something that it's an exchange killer. It's killing the concept of a centralized exchange, and it's allowing peer-to-peer trading where you can on-ramp and off-ramp to crypto with no middlemen like crypto is supposed to be. So that's why it's being pushed towards everybody. And if you look at the tokens that are accepted right now, it's like Ethereum, PulseChain, only the stable coins, right? So if you want, you'd have to sell your HEX in order to go sacrifice for this project. But Binance Smart Chain, Arbitrum Coin, Monero, Zcash, all these trending ones, things like Sonic and Ripple and Dogecoin, it's being marketed to everybody but the PulseChain people. And of course, a few people probably sold some coins to get in, but he clearly wants to, I think, also remove some of that tarnished brand damage from the Gucci suit era, in my opinion.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. So if you're a guy who's a Bitcoin OG and somebody with, we presume, north of $1 billion, $10 million doesn't really do anything for you. $5 million doesn't really do anything for you. So I don't think it's about that. It has to be about something else, which I think is about rebuilding your image, about finding glory again and having success again. And yeah, I do believe that it will be something that transcends all the L1s. That's its purpose. But ultimately, it'll be a token that's available to buy on PulseChain and probably a few other L1s, I would imagine, as well. So I think this is a really good strategy for Richard because in a way, we talk about being gatekept. We're like the North Korea of blockchains currently. There's really not a lot of on-ramps. There's only one road into town that you can use in size, and that's via Ethereum through the bridge. I think what he's looking to do is to put PulseChain at the middle of a lot of different blockchains and create something that's useful for people who all over the world who don't have access to the great banking system that you guys have in the United States, but who would like to be able to move between chains without doing KYC documents and having your coins frozen on an exchange. There could be some element to privacy. It's a big use case. And I think Richard is also somebody who's the right guy for the job in that he's got the scale already, but he doesn't necessarily have the same risk that, I don't know, let's say Binance would have if they were to try to do something like this. That they have very different incentives than he does. And they obviously have a very good business in the classic CEX space. He may just be the right guy to actually try to pull something like this off. But I'll stress that it's a long road to get there. But I'm absolutely fascinated by this opportunity just because of the level of, I don't know, curmudgeonness from most of the community who found this just to be done in completely poor taste and then got basically told that they can't sack their RH coins. But yeah, as I was saying, well, there might be cash poor, they're rich in RH coins, but those aren't eligible. So that's another way of basically keeping the valuation low, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It would have been a popular decision if he'd allowed RH coins. I think the community would have loved that and they would feel a lot differently. But he's chosen to go a different route. And as a result, he's going to raise less money, much less. And he's going to, in the short term, make some enemies with people that are upset about that. But yeah, I think the whole purpose of that is basically to keep a low starting valuation that you can start to basically market. Hey, this thing's done great ROI. Some people have already done really well out of it, and they're very excited about it. And I intend to be one of those people. So yeah, Dylan and I very quickly saw the opportunity, got together, and said, "Who's doing a pool for this?" And we went around asking the usual suspects. And because one of the things we noticed that did change, besides what tokens were accepted, was that the multiplier was increased from 2.5 to 3. And I've always been a little bit critical of the multiplier because obviously it's a bit of a disadvantage if you're not one of the top people. But in this instance, we found that basically nobody was lifting a finger to do much about Provex. And to this day, to be honest, I think Dylan and I are really the only people out actually actively evangelizing this opportunity currently. Most people have been pretty quiet about it. They're not sure. They don't want to stick their necks out. And I can understand that. But yeah, we built a pool. So my team seeded it with 100K, took the first place in the leaderboard instantly. And I talked to a few of my friends in the community, got them involved. So we got 400K in very quickly. So we were already moving the board. And I've been basically doing the rounds, talking to people about the opportunity. And we've raised, I don't know, somewhere like 2.7 million.
2.8 almost now.
Almost 2.8. So we're roughly actually half of everything that's been raised so far. Just from us running around telling people, hey, I know you're hurting right now, but this, to me, as an investment professional, it looks a lot more interesting than PulseX ever did.
And it's also hitting that narrative of ZK technology. So for people that are in the echo chamber, they might not realize that like people are going to DevCon in Argentina and Vitalik is on stage speaking about ZK tech. You even have Andrew Tate picking up on this technology wave. And unlike just another DEX or a copy of Ethereum, this feels like being early to a trend. And I'm not trying to oversell because again, I don't know really what this is going to look like, but I imagine it's going to be an OTC peer-to-peer marketplace, ZK P2P.xyz, where it's just to start a very simple trading platform, but the tech behind it might catch a wave in that what ZK tech is bigger. It has more applications than just doing DeFi than the traditional way that's been done. It can touch and improve things more so in the real world, bank account information, KYC, identity stuff. And you already see it being used like ZK Sync or a lot of these new protocols out here. And even Ethereum's roadmap has a lot to do with this ZK technology. So it's very interesting. We could speculate all day on what the applications could be. It would be nice to have more info, but you guys have a sacrifice pool and seems like, yeah, that if you wanted to get a multiplier, if you wanted to join, it seems like the way to go. Now, I guess the number one question that people are going to have is why should we trust you guys to take our money on our behalf?
Yeah. So there's kind of two dimensions to that. One is the technical aspect. From the technical side, this is a very easy thing for us. We run protocols that are very complex in the PulseChain community, and we have for years now. And we've never had any issues really with them. So this is a very easy lift for us from a technical standpoint. I guess the other side is the trust side. Basically, we've got valuable properties in the PulseChain community and pretty strong reputations that are very valuable to us. And we're fairly professional people that don't want problems or trouble coming back to us, right? We're naturally careful and we like this community and we'd love to keep building for this community for years to come. So we're pretty unlikely to do any kind of shenanigans for that reason, more so than the average person, I'd say.
I kind of agree with that.
Every economic incentive not to, really. And I guess the proof is in the pudding. There's 700 people that have sacrificed via our pool so far to the tune of $2.8 million. Those people have known us for years, many of them. So they trust us to basically do what we say we're going to do and deliver in a timely fashion. So but that's always a risk. You can't fully discount that risk that something bad can happen if you go through a pool. So it's definitely something to always weigh up. I wouldn't say it's a big risk. I'd say it's a non-zero risk, but it's a very small risk. there's a lot of risks to this, but that one's probably not the one that should keep you up at night, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah. I was just going to confirm your previous track record in building real products that have real usage, millions of dollars in liquidity, for example, on borrowing and lending platform. And that's only one of the protocols. How does this work? Like when people have a choice to send in money, they could go solo and get a lower bonus multiplier, or they could team up, which is what a sacrifice pool is, and get looks like a 2.5x multiplier today, unless somebody bigger comes in on top. How does it work? When somebody sends into the address, is it automated, or are you manually keeping track of where the pooled funds came from and then redistributing it manually at the time that they get the coins?
Yeah, so it's obviously blockchains or a ledger. That part is really easy, right? You just have a big, huge spreadsheet of everybody that sent you, and then we just send it right to Richard, right? So essentially how it works is you take your coins, your ETH or stables or whatever on PulseChain or ETH, and then you send it to the address, and then devs auto forward it every 15 minutes, less than that usually, right to Richard, right? So the wait period is a 15-minute delay or something at most. And you sacked to Richard, right? You're essentially just sending to us first, and then we're sending it to Richard, right? In 15 minutes. So
all the accounting is just done manually.
yeah. So this will be the devs have run 2 sacrifices before, and they went off without a hitch. And this would be a very simple task for them in terms of gathering everything together and pushing the coins out in batches, I presume. So that's pretty.
So if somebody wanted to
straightforward.
send in, they would just send to the 0x153 address that I see right here on the page.
Yeah, 0x153F. Yeah, that. Yep. And
Maybe we can pull up the screen to show people. Let me pull this. Or do you guys have it up?
Go ahead. No, yeah, you can do it. Yeah.
All right, 1 second here.
And caveat: never trust, always verify. That's your practices, right? There's multiple ways you can double, triple, quadruple check this address. You can do it on, as of right now, on the official Richard Hart website, the top address. It's about $2.77 million in it right now.
If you scroll down right there, yeah, you'll see.
Yeah, so it'd be that address. You can also do provexpool.com. It'll be posted on the website. You'll see other people that have sacked. You'll see all sorts of information there, right? You can search on Etherscan on ETH. You go to Etherscan, you type in provexpool.eth, and it'll come right up, right? So that's another way you can do this. You can join the Telegram, t.me/ProvexPool. You do !info, it'll pop right up. You can read the pinned messages, it'll pop right up. There's many ways to verify this. Take your time, don't rush, and do not send to a contract address. Don't send from an exchange, and you'll be good.
Simple enough. Yeah. I was waiting until these final 2 days, hoping that Ethereum would move a little bit. Hasn't moved at all. I've told people this, if they follow me, probably sacrificing a little bit, but also expecting a dip after launch. Almost every project will always have, because you've got day one buyers that just want to exit the second they can. That just seems to be something in human nature. But in case I'm wrong and that doesn't happen, it feels like, for me personally, this would be a good route to go. Go ahead.
I was going to ask you, how big of a dip are you expecting to where?
See, this time it's a lot different, because
A lot different, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not $1 billion anymore, coffee.
yeah, somewhat of a dip. You can look at the Monad launch. I know this is recency bias, right? But even that one kind of dipped 40% on day one, and
How much did they raise?
billions. But they have cliffs and stuff. They have VC vesting too.
Sure. Yeah.
I think it was many million. I actually don't know if it was $1 billion, but you can always look at almost every launch and they don't go up right from the get-go. Now, this one might just do the time of, what if it launches during the euphoria phase of the cycle? You might not actually get a dip buying opportunity, but if you do get one, I figure it'll probably last at least a few hours, maybe a few days.
Yeah, you got me on the money there, but shit.
Yeah, but that's the gamble I'm taking. So
Hey.
again, that's why I'm playing both sides of the field here, and put a little bit early, put a little bit
I don't
in.
know if you can count on the dip below a $10 million valuation.
Yeah, for a
That's-
Richard Hart token. Yeah.
That's
I can count on people that have weak hands. I can count on people to jeet their bags the first second they
If
can.
it goes to 50 million, I could see it dropping down to 20 million. Or
You know
30
what's
million.
also a really good point here? A lot of the guys that would sell on a 2x, they can't afford to do this right now. That's another kind of.
Yeah, this has been a shakeout. It's even more like you're shaking people out so hard at the lows that
Yeah.
all the
They can't
guys-
just throw money at this right now. Like they're just. They got their hands tied behind their back. So that's something to keep in mind too.
Yeah, somebody said in our chat something funny. There was like, no, this thing's going to drop 99% like all his other coins.
Okay.
And I think Dylan responded to him like, that's like 100K valuation, or that's something.
Yeah,
Like,
you really think that's gonna happen, bro?
you think it's going to drop 90% to 100K? What do you?
You've definitely got a cohort of stronger hands in this one. Absolutely. Because you don't have the hype buyers of the people that were buying just because Hex went up and they wanted their piece of the pie.
Yeah.
You've got the exact polar opposite.
I just want to say, if it does drop to 90K, I will buy 100% of supply and do a private equity style takeout of Provex. I hope people understand the joke here. Yeah, 100K is that's the valuation you get for dead coins that get created on
Pump tires.
That's a pump tires meme coin. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a pump tires meme coin. It's just not going to happen, guys. This is going to be a Richard Hart token. It's going to be his shiny new baby.
Yep.
And if you look at all his other tokens, they're trading in the tens of millions, if not the hundreds of millions.
Yep.
But what are the odds that this one is going to trade orders of magnitude less than PulseX or Inc? It just doesn't make any sense to me.
I really hope the marketing angle works out where it does bridge in Solana holders and base guys and everybody that wants to use this. And then it all gets routed to buying and burning a token. And that token could be liquidity pools on PulseChain, but it could have liquidity on ETH and anywhere really. And it's almost people have done ZK tech, but no one's put a token on it to give people a financial vested interest in using the tech. When you look at the volume on ZK P2P, I think the highest volume day was like 200K. People aren't really using it that much because it's a little clunky. The Chrome extension is a little weird, but if there was a fanatic community we've already got, like I'm a member of, and if there was a token that had a narrative of buying and burning coins on every transaction, like PulseX, this has a lot of legs, in my opinion. ZK Sync, I was just researching, has a product called, they've got some like private prover technology. I forgot what they called it, but it's got no coin on it. And it's business enterprise centric. Whereas the stuff Richard tends to build is more like for the people, for the retail user, always in line with the ethos of crypto, real decentralization. I'm excited to see what it is. What are you guys speculating about the product itself? Like, we don't know much. We got 2 tweets.
No. Yeah, we could probably ponder for a while.
We would just be speculating, and we definitely have thoughts on it.
Yeah.
I think, obviously, Richard's over the years has been hypercritical of CEXs, and as you called it a CEX killer, maybe. I think it's a way that people who want to basically move money throughout crypto across various L1s are able to do it without anybody's permission. And it's super powerful when you think about it, because those more esoteric protocols you just mentioned, they're cool, but they don't have a pre-built community of real users attached to them already. With a founder like Richard, who has a lot of lore in the crypto world and who has north of $1 billion, we think, of crypto. Presumably between the community and Richard, we could be putting a lot of activity through this protocol as users, right? Enough to get it kickstarted so that the rest of the world will say, oh, actually, there's a lot of volume going through this thing. Maybe I should use it to move from XMR to XLM. Sure. Or wherever I want to go. And I don't even have to care about PulseChain. It could just be, I'm a guy in, let's say, Malaysia. I'm a German guy in Malaysia, and I want to basically circumvent going through a CEX from a Bitcoin position to a Solana, and I want to move $1 million through there. Okay, great. I can use this new thing called Provex to do it. And I might actually get the liquidity that I need to do it. I might be able to find the person on the other end to do it in size. So I think in a perfect world, it ends up looking like something like that. And that's a big use case. The biggest people in crypto, the power users out there, the really crypto native ones, the OGs, they're using similar type of OTC desks to move money all over the world, especially in tax havens and places like that. And this would basically just disintermediate those guys. So yeah, no, I actually think that if you combine the kind of nerdy tech side of it with a fanatical community of really dedicated people who have an economic incentive to basically market the hell out of it and push for it because they got in very cheaply at maybe $5 to $8 million and quickly saw their position potentially 10x or 20x or something. They're gonna put down whatever job they're doing, and they're gonna figure out how to make this thing as successful as possible. I think a couple thousand people that have sacrificed for this will become a very integral part of their lives next year or whenever it comes out, because they're going to have every incentive to try to help Richard make this thing a success. And you just don't have that with those other things that you mentioned. And then, yeah, you just don't have a founder with a big personality and a big bag and a chip on his shoulder to show the world again that he can build something great and have a big win. So, like, to me, it's just my dream as an investment professional. Low valuation, smart, egotistical, but exceptionally driven founder with something to prove, and a pre-built user base, basically ready to use it on day one. It's actually pretty phenomenal. You can get one of those things or maybe two of those things, but not usually three of those things all at once. You know what I mean?
I sure like the frame. Yeah, I really like how you're pitching it. Let's take a look at, do you mind if we pull up your page, the ProvexPool.com?
Yeah, it's not the sexiest page, but we're happy to look at it.
You know what? Yeah, it's just words. It's nothing you can't really see here. I guess the main thing I was going to point to was the fee schedule, just for people to be aware that there is a fee for joining the pool, but a 10% fee for getting over double the amount of coins you would otherwise get. If you're going to do it and you trust the team, then it's a no-brainer. But
yeah, the fee's gone up, by the way. Definitely check the fee schedule. We publish that every day on the tick over.
25%?
We're at 25% today. Yeah. So just to explain that, we incentivized the early people into the pool, some of them with zero fee, to help us build it. And now we're frankly so big that we're basically disincentivizing people to join the pool by increasing the fee. So it's set up so that if you're a small guy, the mathematics are very in favor of you using the pool still, because your multiplier would be closer to 1. If you're a bigger guy, let's say with 100K, that you could consider going direct. But we basically are discounting to people like that on a individual basis. So if you're that kind of person, you should reach out to me. But yeah, basically we're a victim of our own success in a way. We're just so big at the moment that we're trying to keep our ratio, or try not to grow anymore relative to the size of the actual total SAC pool.
Just doing some math here. If you have over $25,000, looks like some guy put in 25K alone, right? He gets a 1.8% multiplier. And if you take a 25% fee off of a 2.5x, let's do 2.5 times 0.75, that equals 1.75. So right around maybe the 25K mark seems to be that, what would you call it, the inflection point?
No, it's higher than that, actually.
Oh, okay.
It's 25% of your bonus points, not your total take.
Oh, yeah.
So at 25% of a 2.5x bonus multiplier, you're down to 2. So you're still basically better off in the pool, no matter who you are at the moment, unless you think you're going to be like one of the very top wallets. So currently you need about $72,000 to be number 2, but that's unlikely to remain that way into the end of the sacrifice.
How many more pools are you expecting? I know there's one guy, right, that might come in.
He's in third place. He's growing a little bit at the moment. He's at 70.
Oh, that's a pool there?
That's a pool, yeah.
No, the third place wallet is a pool. The second place wallet is just a user.
That's what I said, the third place wallet.
Okay.
Yeah, the third place wallet's a pool. He's been growing slowly though. But we're not expecting any pools to emerge in the last 2 days. If they do, they'll be smaller or private.
The success-based fee, by the way, that the 25%, you'd be in the top 7 wallets or the top 8 wallets.
Yeah, but in reality, once this is over, I think those number 2, 3, 4, 5 wallets are all going to they're going to be north of 100K. Yeah, we think it's about right sized. If somebody came to me and said, look, we're going to chip 300K into Provex, I'd say, hey, you could probably consider going direct, right? But basically, yeah, pretty much anybody's sacrificing less than 100 is probably better off in the pool, most likely. So that's what we're doing. We'd like to see more people sacrifice to the directly, actually, because it helps our multiplier. Optically, that's nice. Mathematically, it's actually irrelevant, but it's not entirely irrelevant. It's useful in that we have an advantage over more wallets underneath us, but it's not actually useful. It doesn't really change the math of the multiplier too much. But yeah, so that's basically why we're doing it that way. We haven't really encountered any hesitancy about that. People are still sacrificing quite a bit, much to our chagrin. We've had to continue raising the fee basically pretty much every couple of days. So yeah, that's why we've done it that way. And yeah, I think probably in the next 48 hours, as this thing winds up, you're going to see a lot of action. And you're going to see potentially some of the larger sacrificers from prior Richard Hart sacrifices are probably going to fire their bolts as well. So this leaderboard right now is not a good reflection of what it's likely to look at in 2 days' time. So just keep that in mind.
Oh yeah, things are going to change. People are waiting for that really down to the wire moment, which 2 days and 3 hours from now, guys. And for the record, for people that are new or that might not have known from last time, I would fully expect that Richard Hart or the anonymous whale, whoever it is, would probably come in and sacrifice a bunch of Ethereum to gain majority ownership, just like he did during PulseX and PulseChain and HEX in a way with the recycling. So I would not be surprised to see that at the very end, not in the 2-day mark, but at the January 9th, like the final ending period. What do you guys think about that? It'd be interesting to see a whole bunch of Bitcoin or a whole bunch of ETH come in at the last minute.
That'd be pretty wild.
I think it probably happens. It happened the last 2 times. So yeah. I think most likely it happens again, but it may not. I don't think it really matters too much either way.
And should we clarify that if that does happen at the very end, there's a 5-day period. If you hover your mouse over coffee after the 4th, right on that graph down there, if you go all the way over to the right, there's a period where it says flat. There is no bonus, meaning this does not affect the volume bonus period. So we've been getting a lot of, oh, Richard's just going to come in and fuck you and destroy the bonus. Guys, what do you mean? He left this tool open for himself, and I presume he's going to use it the way he's always used it. So just to clarify that.
Same thing. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. The same exact thing happened in PulseX and PulseChain because he waited till there was no more bonus for the regular people. And you can also, most people consider those coins dormant or not going to nuke the ecosystem. That's the main differentiating factor between people that like Richard Hart coins and people that don't, is a lot of people just can't fathom a founder that likes to hold and buy rather than a founder that dumps. So yeah, what else can we cover about this pool thing here? 7,000 sacrifices, 423 unique tokens, only 5.8 million at this point in the PulseChain sacrifice, for example. I think it was somewhere around 200 million when you counted all the HEX valuation.
So, really? Dude, I thought it was like 800 mil at this point.
Oh, that might be right. Maybe I'm thinking about day one.
And then, and then PulseX was almost like $2 or $3 billion before.
And a lot of that was HEX inflated due to the HEX USD value.
Exactly.
But that's just night and day. I mean, it's so drastic. It's crazy.
Yeah. And now we're sitting at fucking $5.8 million. Come on, guys. Like, dude, go in the couch cushions, and if you know what's good for you, fucking chip some into this. Okay, come on.
Not financial advice, of course.
It is risky, this thing. Like, don't get us wrong.
Yeah.
And we're not selling our house to invest in it.
Wait, you're not selling your house, Buck?
No, I saw that guy do it in the movie. And
this might actually be the time where.
No, don't do that, guys. There's plenty of risk.
Yeah, don't do that.
There's plenty of risk here. But the nice thing about this pool and the sacrifice in general is you don't actually have to put a lot in to do well here. The biggest sacrificer, you guys might not know it, but we have about 3 guys in the pool who've chipped in about 200K, give or take. Right, that's the biggest whale in this whole thing right now, is about 200K. Which isn't a lot of money in the real world. Certainly not a lot of money when you compare it to prior sacrifices.
Yeah, or even other projects like Mega ETH and Monad and stuff like that. 10K puts you in the top 50.
Or exactly. You're getting a pretty good, slice of it with 10K. That might be enough. If this thing's successful, that might be a 10 or a 20x pretty easily. And that might be enough for you to feel like you did pretty well here. You don't have to put $1 million into this. You don't have to sell your house. You can maybe sell a used car or something and be happy with that. I've only put a really 33K in myself. If you think about it, my team's put in 100K total. That's not a big investment for me. But if this thing does a 10x or a 20x, then that turns into a pretty decent little investment. And I may put in more, right? Like I'm like everybody else, I'm waiting to see what happens towards the end. I'm curious to see how much money comes in. We've incentivized people to sacrifice early in order to build our position. And we did that, as I said, by basically discounting fees for people. So that's why we have so much money raised already. But most of the other people are on the sidelines. They've had zero incentives to actually go early, and they're waiting until the very last minute. So I suspect they're going to wait until the very last day, which is Tuesday, for this sort of early multiplier period. And they're going to make their decision then. And if this thing is closer to 5 than 10 at that point, I'm going to be chipping quite a bit more in myself, because the valuation, as I said, is so hilariously low that so long as a token gets delivered at some point, I feel fairly confident I will make money. So like that's really all it takes. So long as a token gets minted, that thing's probably going to be trading well above the present $5.8 million market cap. So this is an incredibly low hurdle to beat, right? It's hilariously low.
Are you thinking about any?
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, are you thinking about any fee schedule increase in the next 2 days, or is it just a surprise?
So every day we announce it. So we'll be announcing another one in 2 hours and 56 minutes when it ticks over. And we look at market demand. We look at our size relative to the total pool, and we make a decision based on that. So I won't say anything now, obviously, because I want to be fair to other people. We do that in our Telegram. But yeah, if you're a small guy, like I said, I think if you're sacking $1,000, your multiplier is something like 1.1 if you go direct. Whereas with us, you're getting 2.5 minus the fee. So you'd be getting 2. So you don't have to be a mathematician to understand that you're basically getting a free ride by going in the pool, and you're doing very well through it, right? Irrespective of the fee being high, you're still mathematically way better off in the pool than outside of it. So if you're that kind of user, that's pretty much the answer. And if you're a bigger guy, and you've got 100K to put to work, then you should really get in touch with me and DM me on Telegram, because if I can fit you in, I'll add a discount, then I will for sure. But yeah, I don't want the pool to be too big. I don't want to distort things. So that's important to us as well. We have to act in the interest of the pool.
Cool. Understandable. Are there any things that we haven't talked about that are frequently asked questions that you guys get a lot?
Yeah.
A few. When is the token one coming?
Oh, yeah.
Question. We get a lot, and the answer is we don't know. Can you guarantee a 2.5x? No, we can't. That's unknowable as well. Is the founder alive? We think so, but we don't really know. What is the product? So the answer is we don't really know, but it's going to disrupt CEX.
This is such an investable product. Holy shit.
Yeah. That's crypto, right? Talk about degen. Talk about a degen play. If it's a real product, yeah. The disruption power for centralized exchanges, the ZK tech narrative, the actual technology, assuming it all works out, could have a lot of potential. What do you guys think about where we're at just in the general market? Everyone's super depressed, sentiment all-time low. Everyone's doom and gloom on the timeline. How are you guys feeling in general?
I think we need some QE, man. Market itching for some liquidity, brother.
Who's the next guy after Powell? Jerome Powell's going to get placed, I heard.
Buck, do you know?
I think it's going to be an asset. But
that guy's going to print the money.
It'll be somebody very dovish, because they'd have to be more dovish than Jerome Powell, and he's extremely dovish in general. So Trump would only replace him with somebody incredibly more dovish. So yeah, has to make sense to me. But yeah, it doesn't really matter. It'll be a dove. More rate cuts coming. I feel great about markets actually right now. I just want to say.
I actually do as well. It sounds weird, but every time I go to a conference or something, I talk to real institutional companies. They seem to be the right place at the right time. The feeling is contagious. And then Twitter is just the polar opposite. The sentiment is of normal people, they don't have extra money to spend. But I do see this changing at some point, whether it's 2026 or who knows when. That money printer will go back on. The helicopter money from Trump, allegedly $2,000 stimulus checks. Well, what do you see, Buck, from your macro perspective?
Yeah, cycles don't end of old age, despite whatever the people say about the 4-year cycle. That I think that was coincidence more so than actual practice. Cycles tend to end when central banks end them or something really big breaks. Nothing really big is broken. And central banks are actually cutting all over the world, not hiking. I don't see the cycle ending. Do we have to have a correction along the way here and there? Yes. We've had 3 years of the indices going up 20%. There's a lot of froth, obviously, in tech from the AI thing. It's warranted. There's amazing things happening that are incredible for the global economy and productivity that are ultimately deflationary. But some of those things are going to be overvalued and some of them are going to die, basically. That always happens with tech. So yeah, I don't really worry too much about it. The US economy is super strong. It may not feel that way to Zoomers like Dylan here who don't have a pot to piss in, but if you talk to rich people, they've had a great year and they're feeling pretty good, right? And that's economics is unfair this way, right? It's really just boiled down to where wealth and power and all the capital, how they're feeling. They're optimistic, they're investing, they're putting money to work in a big way, pretty much globally, but certainly in the United States. But yeah, no, I think we'll end up with probably another good year next year even. So we'll see. And the only thing that I'm worried about in crypto really is just that the market might interpret the midterms as the end of the MAGA movement if the Republicans lose. And that might be enough to send crypto in as an idiosyncratic bear market later on. I think that's something we'll be talking a lot about later in the year, next year, probably when we get to July. That'll become the new paranoia that we have. But in the long run, the big winners in crypto are going to be much larger today than they are, much larger in the future than they are today. The game is rigged. The governments print more money every year. Crypto gets adoption every year. The institutions are building for crypto now. They're just waiting for regulatory clarity. It'll be a lot easier for people to invest in crypto in the future, presumably because of that. So yeah, no, I feel very good about it. Doesn't mean we can't have short-term volatility and pullbacks like we've just experienced recently. And that is always useful. It's useful because when people are really upset, it's generally a good time to look around for opportunities. That's exactly what I'm doing with this. I look at this and I go, in a normal HEX world, I wouldn't be able to get into this at less than a multi-$100 million valuation. But currently, I'm looking at a single-digit $1 million valuation. That's an incredible gap.
It's remarkable. And aside from macro and Provex, what's your take on, I guess we'll go to both of you, your take on Ethereum, PulseChain, HEX, PulseX? What has to happen for ETH to pump? Will that be the catalyst for PulseChain to pump? What has to happen for PulseChain to pump also?
Yes. Oh yeah, you go, Don. You got it.
Yeah. Would be nice to see ETH to have a nice bull market. Obviously, can't predict that or anything, but I think a better question to ask the audience would be, you're sitting in cores right now. From an investment perspective, would you see the cores doing a 10x from here, or would you see Provex doing a 10x from here? The cores are pretty depressed right now. Arguably, they're a little bit heavier than something else. And with that being said, I think that the success of Provex may determine the success of the rest of the cores, perhaps. And obviously, if ETH does really well, I think it really won't matter anyway. But Tom Lee needs to buy our fucking bags. Come on.
Yeah.
ETH needs to pick up the pace here.
Same situation as Bitcoin. When the ETFs were launching, now we've got the staking ETFs, we've got the new treasury companies, Tom Lee and Michael Saylor. So I hope it's history repeating. And I do think we're going to get that 10K ETH, which obviously we all know the Tornado Cash sacrifice money is heavily aligned with that too.
Yeah. And I think retail just has not come yet. If anybody that lives in middle America and they just look around, there's a lot of people that are struggling right now. Not sure how big that market is, but obviously in 2021, retail loved buying crypto. And we saw bubbles everywhere. everywhere was a bubble, right? Now there's little pockets here and there that have happened, but there hasn't really been bubbles everywhere, right? And we haven't really seen the small business owners spending money like crazy, or just middle class, everyday working Americans really spending money like crazy. So, not sure how that turns around, but I'm sure when that starts to happen, we'll start getting bubbles everywhere and we'll probably be fine. Right now, that bifurcation in the economy, the K-shape, it's starting to rear its head pretty strongly. Like a year ago, it was like, maybe the middle class is doing okay. It's not really that bad. Now you can look around, and I think Christmas is getting progressively smaller across the board right now for the average American. It's my take. We need liquidity.
Mr. Buck.
Yeah, my answer is pretty simple. You want to get Bitcoin to pump and then Ethereum to pump and then PulseChain to pump. You want a combination of lower interest rates, more liquidity coming from the government, legislation being passed, spending by the government. You need laws that allow businesses to build stuff for crypto and start buying crypto. All those things, I think, are coming next year. I feel pretty good across the board. And just in terms of sequence, obviously Bitcoin going up pushes up the price of everything. I think Ethereum in particular does well in an environment where the kind of TradFi world gets the legislation passed and is able to start to really think about doing real world assets and really getting properly involved in putting financial instruments on blockchains and things like that. I think that's the thing that sets Ethereum off. And yeah, I think for PulseChain to do well, Ethereum needs to do really well. That's a key thing. But I also think something that can make PulseChain do better than it's been doing, at least, is having a new killer app and the founder out promoting the hell out of it and being able to brag about how well the coin has done on its launch. That's the other key thing I'm looking for next year. So
it's really nice, to have something to approach.
Yeah, if you have an investment opportunity like that, you should probably take a good hard look at it, guys.
Imagine being able to just go to Monad and be like, hey, we have some actual new tech that is useful for you. Or Litecoin, you guys haven't been relevant in a while. Check this out. Litecoin plugs right into it. Because theoretically, you could sell anything OTC. I don't know how it's going to work. I don't want to say that for sure. Maybe it's only PulseChain coins, but it doesn't seem like he would be building for all these other networks and then have something that's only PulseChain centric.
Yeah, really, I don't know how it works either. That remains to be seen, but I would say I'll be shocked if it's just PulseChain.
Yeah.
Because that doesn't sound like what he's tweeting about. What he's tweeting about seems very clearly to be about expanding his presence across crypto. He said in the tweet that he's already got us, basically. He's trying to get the next billion users. So you don't do that by focusing solely on PulseChain.
Yeah, it's definitely thinking bigger than a lot of people expected. And I appreciate that kind of angle because crypto is so much more. PulseChain is such a tiny drop in the bucket. And he's tweeting, he's reply guying. You see him active on Twitter. I think a lot of people are upset he's not specifically talking about HEX, PulseChain, and PulseX. But he's probably had the same thought that a lot of us have had. It's every time we talk about this, everyone just seems to dump it. And a lot of people don't seem to want to promote their bags. They'd rather complain and leave or complain and stay. I don't know why people fund their own bags, but just hope we're all just surviving until we've rinsed every last one of the detractors, the counterproductive individuals. As far as 2 more days, guys, one last call to action. If you do want to sacrifice pool. The number one pool is Bucks. If you want to join the Telegram, t.me/ProveX pool, or you could just follow Buck or Dylan on X, I assume, and just ask them stuff. It does seem like a good way to get in. I know these guys. I've seen them not rug a lot of projects and stuff. They've got pretty okay not rugging history. Look, if you're on Solana, go ahead.
Fun fact, Coffee. There's been other Aave forks on PulseChain that got exploited. The PH team Aave fork runs flawlessly. There was GMX, the protocol that Fame is based on, that was a fork of, was exploited. Fame was not exploited. Balancer.
Oh, there's a funny story there. We actually fixed their code when we forked.
Yeah.
Fame.
Wow.
So we actually knew about the exploit, or not the exploit, but we knew about the problem, and we fixed it. And then somebody figured out how to exploit it using that problem.
Yeah.
But yeah, we know our shit.
And then not only Balancer V2, but Balancer V3 both got hacked. Somehow yours and the Tide pools were both fine just because you didn't use those additional features. You didn't give.
Yep. Because we knew they were risky. Yep. So we didn't implement them on purpose.
Which I had a little panic moment, but that was great to see for sure. Any last words you want to leave these guys with? The sacrifice pool, 2 more days till max bonus. Yeah. Anything else?
Yeah, join the Telegram, ask us questions. There's a lot of very smart people in the Telegram, some of the biggest guys in the community that you might not otherwise know. They're there, they talk, they're lurking. We have voice chats in there periodically called office hours, so you can come ask us questions. If there is any sort of Provex alpha, you'll probably hear it there first. So join the Telegram, t.me/Provex pool. Follow the Twitter @Provex pool on Twitter. And yeah.
I'll just add, look, briefly, I think Richard has something to prove with Provex. I think he needs a win badly, and this thing is set up to win. I expect that he will get behind it in a way that delights us, because otherwise, why bother? It's not for the money, clearly. $10 million isn't going to change his life, or $5 million or $8 million, whatever it raises. It only makes sense from the perspective of this guy wants to build something that does really well and hopefully reignites the community. Come be a part of that with us. You don't have to go in big. I don't think you should go in big. This is risky. We don't know what it is and when it's coming. Chuck a few bucks in there. You can go direct or you can go in the pool. I actually don't really care at this point which one you pick. You can flip a coin if you wish, but definitely get involved. So at least you follow it a little bit, and you're not entirely missing out on what I think is probably the most asymmetric upside investment opportunity in the Richard Hart universe since December 2019, when the HEX dropped to 99%. It may be even more asymmetric than that. So yeah, we'll be doing everything we can to help Richard have success with Provex, because we want PulseChain to continue to exist, and we want this community to keep going. We need this to succeed, all of us.
Love to hear that. Love to hear that. Yeah, very excited about the future. Even though it's dark times, I think there are brighter times ahead. And yeah, imagine all the co-branding opportunities. This could be a product for Avalanche or Zcash or Sonic, depending on who you're talking to. The marketing potential is limitless, and it all ties back into our PulseChain core coins. Everybody gets to win, and the pie finally gets bigger. So hang in there, guys. Subscribe, share, leave a comment. What do you think? Do you hate it? Because all your hate gets engagement too. It's all good for the algorithm. All right. See you all the next one.